You live from their studio in South Florida, Twist Gaming, featuring lead broadcaster Matt Koza, co-host and creative genius Josh Perry, co-host and interviewer extraordinaire Ann Lazito, co-host and marketing mogul Aaron Murphy, with appearances from special guest Lucy. Welcome to Twist Gaming, where you get to play board games with us.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. As the video says, we're Twist Gaming, and I'm Matt.
I'm Josh.
Welcome, everyone, and this is our first impression session of our Spotlight stream, where we talk about our favorite aspects of the game, any constructive criticisms we have, and the most important question of the evening of would we play the game again. And tonight we had the pleasure of spotlighting Dragon Boats by Maple Games, coming to Kickstarter on October 2nd.
Yeah,
so big shout out to Maple Games for sponsoring this stream and all this week's streams. Yeah. So first and foremost, Joshua, what kind of game is Dragon Boats?
I would say Dragon Boats is, I think Daryl gave a good, it's a little, I want to say it's a light Euro.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to explain it. There's a worker placement, there's resource management, there's a bidding mechanics.
Set collection.
Some set collection. So it's got a lot of the generic Euro style things all together.
All bundled in a nice Eastern theme.
Yeah, a nice little Eastern theme. So basically, it's a victory point game, and you go out on these boats,
Dragon Boats,
and go set up farms and collect treasure and things like that.
Gather resources, all the classic things here. So first part of the stream here is we're going to talk about our favorite aspects of the game, and we typically start this off with the person that won tonight's game, which in this case is Joshua. Congratulations, Joshua.
Yeah, it was a close score.
Very close game, and we did a little mathing afterwards and found that if I would have just rearranged a couple of my moves on the last turn, probably would have swung it in the other direction, but that just shows how close the actual game was, considering that you and I played pretty considerably different styles.
Yeah, we kind of went totally different ways with our gameplay, and had very similar results. So the game, let's just show the game board real quick.
Sure.
So basically, there is this main island that we're on with a mountain range up on top, and then there's 4 surrounding islands. And you can have farmers go up onto these islands to go farm, or you can climb the mountains to get special power-ups, basically.
Right.
And then there's a market down here where you can buy resources by using your bid tokens, and then you can kind of trade in resources and do some other cool things in the market there. So that's kind of like the board, how it's laid out, and a general of how it works. You could so to start off, what I liked about the game.
First thing I do want to point out is that we do have a prototype version of the game.
Yeah.
Daryl made a point of telling us that this is roughly 65% completed prototype version.
Yeah.
So some of the components that you see are not going to be final. One of the most important ones to take away from is the boats themselves. So these were the standee boats that we were using for our game, and these will be 3D assembled die-cut boats, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a cardboard cutout, and then these will actually sit in the...
they'll inlay into the deck of the boat.
The deck of the boat, so the top of the boat will have this cool little custom deck that will switch out.
Right.
Just to give it some cool table presence, which is neat. So we have that, and then some of the art is still not final, and things are getting changed. So, first thing, even talking about that, the art style in the game is great for the finished components.
Very like pastel watercolor type thing, and it's kind of like what you would see in a painting of like a traditional Eastern map.
I mean, look at the background behind us. It's got that. Can't really see the dragon that well because my big head's blocking it. But no, it's a very nice theme, and everything's pretty well laid out. The iconography is really good. For my color blindness, actually, we'll get back to that in the discussion part. But for the most part, really, really good. So for the most part, everything's good. We have some final components that are not done yet, so I can't say everything to that. I really like all the little mechanisms of the game. I like the bidding.
I love the boat mechanism.
I like the boat mechanism. I like if you go in the front of the boat, you get off first.
You go to the back of the boat. You get to choose which of the two directions you're going.
Yeah.
And the middle of the boat's cheap seats.
Cheap seats. But like since we did a 2-player game, mostly we only had 2 people on a boat.
Yeah.
So middle seat was either the other person's gonna decide if I get to be first, or if I get to choose what direction we're going in.
Right.
Which made it interesting. Since we had a 2-player game, there wasn't a lot of conflict there.
Right. Just because the boats weren't launching very often.
Yeah. So we kind of go there and to do what we need to do. I see this in a 3 or 4-player game. That conflict's going to be a lot more interesting and a lot more tactical of where you're going to go on that boat.
Absolutely, because I could see these resource spaces filling up extremely quickly.
At one point in the game, you took the middle spot, and I was actually going to take the middle spot on that boat. And I had the resource for it, and I totally forgot to do it.
Yeah.
And then you took it. I'm like, damn it, I need to get another resource to do it. Not a big issue. I'll do it. I'm like, but I need to make sure I get to this island and not that island, because I wanted my last fish resource, and they were both there. So if you took the back of the boat and it said, "Oh, we're going that way," I'd just be like, "That sucks to be me because I can't get anything I need."
Right.
So I was on the back of the boat, and I was like, if Matt tries to screw me on the fish, and say, "Oh, I'm just gonna take this fish here." There was a fish all the way on the other side of the island. I had to spend some more food for it, but I didn't care. I was like, "That's the one I want anyway." So
yeah,
it was kind of a win-win for me to get off the boat.
I wanted to jump in a little bit, and I really liked the middle seat mechanism, just because it was a way for you to cheaply get on a boat just so you can get resources if you were kind of early on in the game and didn't care. Yeah. Or later in the game with what I was doing. Granted, it's a little bit because I wasn't playing to the right strategy, but just getting more people on the map to do stuff. And one of the interesting things is that at the very last round of the game, when the game ends, all the boats launch regardless of how many meeples or how many farmers are on it.
Yeah.
So what my goal was in the last 2 rounds was to get meeples onto all of the middle spots because it was low cost in resources and it was just more opportunity to earn points. So I was just spamming the middle seats, and I think I had a middle seat on all 4 boats in the last round.
Yeah, you did. But there's also some other cool. So there's a power-up card. So there was like, oh, I chose the middle seat, but I'm gonna switch boats. So I got on cheap for this boat, but I'm gonna take a prime front seat on this boat.
Yeah, the power-up cards were really cool. They were they were all over the place, from just earning extra money on money spots, getting extra points for some cards that give you no points. So food cards actually give you no score at the end of the game. But I had this one here, this power-up, where food cards will be worth 2 points up to a max of 8 at the end of the game, and I actually was able to double up on that and another token there. Josh got a card that gave him a free fish resource, so it wasn't just that there was like maybe 4 or 5 different power-ups that you can get. They were pretty broad and pretty powerful in the grand scheme of things.
The other thing I like how you start the game off.
Yeah.
So there's this boat that kind of represents all the rounds.
Right. So you have round 1, round 2, and if you look, round 2 has a set number of resources there. We'll explain that in a second. So round 2, round 3 has more, round 4 has more, round 5 has the most, and then round 6 is the final round of the game. So everyone's got 3 bid actions on their turn, but
4.
You have your 4th bid disc that you put on one of those rounds, 2 through 5, and that's when you get it back. So the later you put it, the longer it takes you to get your 4th action, but the more initial resources you get at the start of the game. So that could propel you to a faster head start versus a more methodical approach where you're grinding out the resources.
So Matt chose turn 2 to get his 4th, and I chose round 5.
Yep.
We played completely different, and we got very different play styles on that. I took a power card. I got a power card first turn. That game of the fish said, "Oh, I guess I'm going after fish," and that's how I targeted my strategy. And I really like how that option's there to kind of change how you're going to play.
Right.
And midway through the game, I started hurting because I didn't have that 4th action. A little bit.
Yeah.
So it made it
the money
really,
is where it really hurts.
Yeah, because you can use it to get to money, and I was just short on money. And that was a little bit hard part. Otherwise,
I really loved the mountain mechanism too. Just the fact that you have the boats going out everywhere, but you can go into the mountain, and the mountain gives you completely different items. You're not harvesting rice and soy in the mountains. You're getting, it seems like from a thematic standpoint, it's like you're going to the mountain for like a spiritual journey, and you're getting these things that are allowing you to do more stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it's worded in the rule book, but that's the vibe that I got from it. So like, oh, your treasures are worth more. You're able to pick up more money along the way. You're able to score these points differently. So it's almost like a power-up in its own sense without having to rely on the power-up cards.
You can get a certain power-up card basically just by forcing yourself to go to the mountain to go somewhere for it.
Right.
Where the power-up cards are a little bit... There's 2 shown, and then you can take a face-down card. It's a little bit more random there.
Mm-hmm.
The set collection was pretty good.
Fairly basic, but good.
Yeah, basic, good. And then there was also like a grouping mechanism of how your farmers are on the map, so if they're in a group together.
And the points scaled the same way that the set collection did.
Yeah.
So if you have one of a set or one meeple group by itself, it's 1 point. If you have 2, they're each worth 2 points apiece,
Yep.
so it becomes 4. If you have 3, they're each worth 3 points apiece, so it becomes 9.
Yep.
So it
And then
exponentially
for the
grows.
meat resources, if you go up to 4,
It'll go up to 16.
they go up to 16. But that doesn't work with everything because the
rice and soy only go
are
up to
up to
3,
3.
and you only have 3 adjacent spots for your meeples
Yeah.
at any position on the board.
So that's different. You could actually group up on the mountain too, which
No, I didn't even think of that.
that was a tactic. Just be like, all right, I'm taking all these cool things and getting all these interesting things there. I think anything else you want to touch on?
I don't think so. Granted, we talked about pretty much every single aspect.
Yeah,
of
we talked
the
about
game
every
here.
aspect of the game. I had a lot of fun. I like the other thing was as you move along the island, you get 3 movement points.
Yeah.
As you go over items, they give you items, and then you can spend food to go further, which is really cool.
So that's the food's actual
Ability
the way
in
the
game.
resource works in the game versus me where I was just collecting it.
Yeah.
So jumping into the constructive criticisms aspect, I don't really know what I want to talk about here just because I really enjoyed the way that the game played. I know you wanted to say something about the colorblind accessibility of it.
Yeah. So they use unique icons for the resources.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's these 2.
The gold and the jade.
Gold and the jade.
Yeah.
Color-wise, they're
yellow and green, so they're not going to show up on the camera.
They're
So
not gonna show
this
up on
one's
the-
yellow, this one's green.
color-wise, they're slightly different. But shape-wise, I think they're still
A little similar.
a little too similar. And the issue isn't on those as much. And I know these are prototypes, but the icons on the boats,
Oh, they're significantly
they're
smaller.
significantly smaller.
Yeah.
So, trying to see if that was a jade or a
No,
gold.
that's a cinnabar
On the
and a
bottom.
gold. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a gold.
It just made it a little bit harder.
Okay.
And if these get blown up a little bit, that's not going to be a bit much as an issue or stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
And I'm doing the extreme close-up now. You can see kind of in reference to my hand how small they are.
yeah, they're really, really tiny. And that's in the works, so I'm okay with that. There was a couple rulebook tweaks, but I know they're working on them, and we told a couple little issues, but most of it went pretty smoothly.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say that I'd like to see, and I know that Daryl said that this was a potential stretch goal that they wanted
Yeah.
to add, was the unique private action powers for the player board. So that would be a cutout on the board, and instead of just being the earn 2 money, it could be unique to the players, and you choose that at the beginning of the game, so you can kind of even more customize how you play.
Yeah.
And I am a huge sucker for unique player mechanics, and that I think would just really just be like awesome to see.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of cool component upgrades that they're looking at doing, which would be really cool. So yeah, I think there's that my biggest criticism is that.
I really don't have anything else to say.
I
about
had
the
something else, but I forgot what it wasn't that important. I guess.
No?
Yeah, no.
Any other comments before we get into the most important question of the
I
evening?
know the preloaded market's meant to give that tightness.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
We never went to position 1.
Yeah, it just cost way too much. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, this basically close off like one of the positions.
Yeah.
It just kind of mattered how resources came out, I guess. I think that's everything.
I would almost like to see that rotate, you know? Like, maybe move the more expensive positions, like, bump them all down one for the rounds or something like that.
I don't think it really matters that much, though. Like, it's just, you just close it in one shop out.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. I don't know how you get all 10 meeples out on the board.
I got close.
How do you...
I had 3 left.
Okay.
I got pretty close.
So maybe a bigger player game that those got more.
Yeah.
But no, I really don't. I like everything about this game. There was nothing I didn't like about it.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this game. And so getting into the most important question of the evening of would you play this game again?
Definitely, yes. It's light and fast enough to play that, yeah, I'd easily play this again.
Yeah.
I can see this something me and you possibly pull out to play something. If you want something a little bit more on the Euro side.
Right. And we're not particularly big into heavy Euro games, so I think this will scratch our personal itches for Euro feel.
Yeah.
I would, 100% play this game again. I want to play it again now, to be honest. But it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of different ways to accumulate points, so I like that a lot. That it doesn't feel like you're handcuffed. And Daryl made a point of saying that before, where the game allows you to pivot midway through without feeling handicapped because of it. And I definitely can see that in the game design. I had a ton of fun playing it. I think that if you got those individual player power actions, if that stretch goal becomes unlocked, this would take it into like an upper echelon category for me. Just because this is a game I could definitely see playing head-to-head again, as well as playing with 4 people and getting the bigger game feel for it.
I think Anne would enjoy this. It doesn't have... I don't think it's too AP for her.
Yeah.
I think it's light enough that it's not a big issue. I think even our kids could probably play this. Like the barrier's not high. And the random setup of the board too. So all the islands are always different where things locate and things like that. So,
even the location of the things in the mountain are different, and the boats each have different costs to get on as well.
Yeah. So there's
quite a few different boats. Yeah. All right, so is there anything else that you wanted to touch on for Dragon Boats this evening?
No, I think that's it.
All right, so that's going to be it. 2 very big thumbs up from the 2 of us here. Definitely big thumbs up.
4.
Yeah, sure.
Thumbs up.
4, 2 apiece. There we
2
go.
apiece.
So thank you all for watching. Definitely stay tuned for all of our upcoming streams. And a big shout out one more time to Maple Games for sponsoring this stream and all of this week's streams with Dragon Boats. But signing off for now, I'm Matt.
I'm Josh.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.